ghost orgy that's happening on our bed, and fucking face it interrupts her. I'm like, what are you stopping her from talking for?
So, Phil, what we're going to do is basically it's a free-for-all today. I got in pretty late, so I didn't have time to really look at and put some videos up. But next week will be more videos. During the week, I'll put some videos up on this room here and talk about. But main thing is just a free-for-all. Today's basically what we can talk about, whatever in wrestling. You know, what did you like about wrestling and matches? They had pretty good brutal matches back then. You know, today they don't have them like they used to. You know, like they used to have the Texas Tornado. They used to have the lumberjack match. We don't even see those matches anymore. You know.
Nah, what was that bullwhip match or something they had?
Yeah.
It's there's some. What was the one where the dog chain match?
Yeah.
Dog chain matches.
And I think the one that was good with that was with Roddy Piper and Greg the Hammer Valentine. That was a good one.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one I think of. No, I think really what's missing today is they just don't have the characters. You know, if I had to like put it in terms of Italian food, it's that. You know, wrestling from the 80s was like spaghetti bolognese, and today it's like Chef Boyardee. It's just, you know, it's basically canned. It's so overly scripted and overly produced that, you know, you don't really, I don't think any of the new artists or performers get a chance to really, you know, develop as the type of talent that they had in the past.
Right.
You know, I mean, and you know what I don't like either is, and I know they did it a little bit back then, but all the talking in the ring. I've said it for years, but back in the day, it was always, you know, out of the ring, you know, near the locker room or in that little hallway thing, and it was Mean Gene Okerlund, you know, interviewing, you know, whoever was about to go on stage, and them, you know, doing their gimmick, putting across the promo, but it wasn't in the ring, and it was never more than like 5 minutes, maybe. Now they get out in the ring and they want to spend like a half an hour out there, or you know, or longer, talking about a bunch of soap opera bullshit, and then they wrestle for 5 minutes and it's over. You know, and then there comes the next idiot who gets the mic and wants to do the same bullshit, and it's I just can't get into it. It's
But Phil, I gotta ask you one thing.
Yeah.
Do you smell what the Rock is cooking?
You know, that was the last great generation of wrestlers. It really was. The Rock was the shit. And I mean, obviously he became a superstar afterwards. You know, just a great, tremendous talent.
You know, the Rock, he liked pecan pie, he liked apple pie, he liked blueberry pie, he liked blackberry pie. But his favorite kind of pie was poutine pie.
You know what? I have a story, and I think I'm going to say it tonight. I'm going to save it for tonight about The Rock. I mean, when I first met him, I'm going to wait till tonight. I don't want to
save it.
Yeah, save it.
I want to say it.
Now, you ended up, you and Telly trained with the Tonga Kid, right? With Sam?
Well, at that time, I trained with a friend of mine, George Fry.
Okay.
And I met Telly through SPW.
Really?
And when I was with, back then, SPW was ran by a black dude named Richard Brogan.
Wow.
And he ran SPW. He brought SPW, and then Big Ugly took it over. Yeah. Took it over after that, and then he sold it to Josh. You know, that's how all that happened.
Broadway, who's your favorite wrestler? It doesn't matter who your favorite wrestler is.
We'll talk about that. I'll bring that up. We'll, favorite wrestler.
The Rock has some good ones.
He was good on the mic.
Oh yeah.
That's the other thing. There's not a lot of guys. I don't know if there's anybody who's really great on a mic anymore. Not like Piper was. Not like Rock was.
Or the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo!
And you know what? With him, I give it to him. For that man being in his 70s, and he's still going right to this day, going to these.
I don't like his last match though. I mean, he got beat up and everything. I mean,
that's part of the game, bro.
Yeah, but it was like
part of the game.
What a way to go like that. It was.
And I don't think he's done. I think he's got one more match underneath him. He's done, but I think he's got maybe one more that he's got something to even.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
I hope it's him and Hogan because they're all in their 70s. So
I think instead of doing that, they should follow the example of the past, like Classy Freddie Blassie, and just be a manager at that point. I mean, I think Ric Flair could be one of the great managers if he, was just out there putting somebody over, and then of course doing the dirty shit on the side of the ring, just like all the great managers do. It's that's I used to love. I mean, when Blassie, there's the boots. When Blassie used to go out and wrestle himself, he'd file his teeth down, he'd bite guys' heads and all that shit. But then at a certain point, he didn't wrestle anymore. He just stayed on the side of the rope with his bullwhip or whatever, that crop, and just with every time he got a chance, he'd choke somebody or he'd smack the shit out of somebody with something. It's I think that the managers and tag teams, they really need to put more emphasis on, because those were like two of the best things that I remember back in the day.
Yeah.
You guys ever listen to Jim Cornette?
Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to his show all the time. I subscribe to his thing. He does a great job of really cutting the stuff apart and saying what's wrong with it and what's good about it, if anything, these days.
Yeah. You got to remember too that Cornette started as an early age, in the wrestling business. He was hella young when he started. I mean, I think he was like maybe 15, 16, somewhere in there.
He was a photographer. He started out taking pictures of the guys, and then they put him down. That was down in the Southern promotions with.
And he's a king of a loudmouth too.
Yeah.
King of loudmouth.
Well, that's the best part. You cannot have an argument with him and win.
No.
Because he's highly intelligent too, and he knows his shit. He's a historian of wrestling, so you just don't even. Yeah, there's nobody that can out argue him. I have to give him a lot of credit for that. I like the guy a lot. I think Cornette ought to run for president. But yeah, he's a character.
Yeah. And Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold. You know what's funny is that pro wrestlers almost always, not always, but a lot of the times take their gimmicks from either movies or television shows, right? And so, Hulk Hogan, the Incredible Hulk, was really big in the 70s, and then all of a sudden he comes out and he's, the Incredible Hulk Hogan at first, then he's, just Hulk Hogan. What's his name? Austin has this great story about how his British wife was backstage or something and made him tea and said, drink your tea before it gets stone cold. And he said, oh, that's going to be my gimmick. However, if you look, because I was working in the movie theater when this fucking shit movie came out, there is a movie called Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth, the ex-football player in it, that came out roughly a year before Austin took that gimmick. And what was he in that fucking movie? An undercover cop playing a biker, wearing nothing but a leather vest.
That's what I was going to say. Wasn't he a biker cop or something?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, out comes Austin looking like a biker. Not to take anything away from him, man. He did a fantastic job with it. Was maybe the biggest talent of all time with modern wrestling. But the fact that he's got that story about the TV and Stone Cold, like just admit it. You took it from a shitty movie.
And
It's
and then when he told Jake the Snake Roberts, he says, and Austin 316 says, "I just whooped your ass."
yeah.
Hey, that was funny when him and fucking, you know what? Fuck it. I think we will watch a couple flicks with Steve Austin and McMahon. They had some classics, man.
Oh yeah.
You see that one when McMahon tore his quads, like getting into the ring?
Yeah.
And he goes to jump into the ring through the bottom, and it does something, I forget how exactly, but it was horrible, and all of a sudden he's laying on the ground and he can't get up, because both of his fucking quads just tore. Awful.
I remember that one time I was in Arco Arena. It was for Raw, and I want to say it was Austin bringing out a beer truck, and he had the fire hose with the beer, and McMahon was just like acting like he was swimming and shit. Like, dude, you're not swimming. It's not no fucking pool. Stop that, man. He's like trying to act like he's swimming and shit.
I think McMahon was probably the best heel, you know, the most realistic heel. I mean, everybody hated him. When I first started watching wrestling, he was just an announcer. You know, as a kid, he was just an announcer, and I had no idea that he owned the company, because I just thought he was this announcer guy. And I heard that was it the $1 Million Man? I heard that was a gimmick that he actually designed for himself, and then gave it.
He did, and he was just portraying Vince McMahon.
Yeah, and that kind of makes sense, you know, when you look back at that. It's like, yeah, Mr. Moneybags, like Richie Rich. But we hated him, especially when he'd offer the money to everybody, and then he wouldn't give it to him. You know, he'd offer it, but then he'd find a way to know you're not going to get it. Yes, we hated him.
But you know what? What I liked about it is when me and Telly and Paul, Paul, you might remember, and Phil, I don't know if you guys ever been to our matches when we wrestled or anything like that. I don't know if you guys ever been to our matches, but
No, I saw a video.
I saw the one on Villalobos. I saw that one.
Yeah.
I saw that too.
Our matches, like, I'll talk about it on here, but our matches, when I first wrestled Telly, it was more like, because we talked about it and stuff, he stayed the night at my house and shit, you know, and he was like, you know, we should do this, we should do that, and I said, well, no, we should do this, we should do that, and so we kind of like had an altercation, and then we just said, fuck it, let's just bring it in between, you know, do a little bit of yours, a little bit of mine, and we were at Yuba City with that fucking asshole Rob Wilds.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? I'm gonna bash him tonight. Fuck him. I'm gonna bash Rob tonight. Fuck him. I don't care about, you know, he started a lot of shit already. I didn't say anything about him. I don't mention his name, but he started telling people that he owns Wrestle News Buzz. How the fuck you own that shit, bro? You didn't even put no money into it.
Yeah.
How the fuck you gonna say you own something when you don't even know nothing about it? He told Dave he owns Wrestle News Buzz.
Oh,
Dave said, go suck. I think Dave said something about like, go fuck yourself or some shit like that. But he knew better.
I don't think I ever met that guy. When I was filming SBW, I filmed this. There was a tag team out of Reno that was kind of big 10 years ago. Maybe one of them had a mohawk. The other one was a little bit smaller. I can't think of the freaking name. But they were out of the Reno area. They were
Reno Scum.
Reno Scum. That's them. Yeah, but that's it. And I never actually went to Reno to film, although they wanted me to back then. You know, I was short-sighted in the fact that I was doing a lot of filming, and I didn't actually. As soon as I started to get it going, and everybody wanted me to go film, I kind of like got tired of doing all the driving, and I stopped. SPW, and Bushido, Wrestling Bushido, and Bobby the Axe Murderer. What the hell is it? Where is it? What's that? Lodi? Not Lodi. Just south of Sacramento. What the hell is that one? That's a little town.
Galt?
Where? No, where are the Diaz
Lodi?
brothers from? I thought it was. I don't think it was Lodi.
Stockton.
Yeah, I think it was out of Stockton. But it might have been Lodi. It was Bobby Hart was the guy's gimmick. He was the Axe Murderer, and he ran a show out of there. In fact, he did the last show that had what's his name? Ruben, the guy who died, who ran that wrestling school out of that garage where that kid was killed. He was in Beyond the Mat. What the hell is his name? God, all this stuff is fading away in my memory banks.
I know.
He died maybe like 8 years ago, and then I filmed the last appearance he made, which was down there at Wrestling Bushido.
Huh.
He was actually putting over Hood Slam at the time. He was excited but everybody was excited about Hood Slam because Hood Slam was the only promotion that was drawing any kind of numbers back then. I don't know what it's like now, but about 8-10 years ago.
They're going to Reno now. They're doing stuff in Reno now.
Hood Slam is?
Yeah.
Yeah, was it Sam Kanabati, the Sheik? I was, the one who started Hood Slam, basically, runs the thing. I filmed him a lot, and then so I knew him, and then I was at this, arcade/bar in downtown Sacramento where they have these old video games and everything. And I'm sitting at the bar, and this transsexual, walks up next to me, and it was obvious, it was a guy, and it was obvious that it was Sam. But I didn't want to be a dick or anything, so I introduced myself. How you doing? What's your name? And full drag and everything. And he goes, I know who you are, Phil. And I'm like, oh, sorry, Sam. I don't want to fucking insult you or anything. And then he tried playing it off like, well, girls wear guys' clothes, so why can't I wear girls' clothes? And next thing you know, he's out. He's transsexual, full blown.
And he's doing the gimmick as a transsexual.
Yeah.
In the wrestling. I think he was ahead of his time.
Yeah. Well,
At that time, I didn't see anybody really doing it like that, like outside of maybe like Adrian Adonis, Adrian Steele.
He's a talented in-ring performer. I mean, the guy he was a high flyer. Him and Virgil died, but they were like the two really good high flyers back then. And Sheik was awesome in the ring. But the transsexual, like you said, I think it might have been a little bit too far ahead of his time, just by a few years. Now I think it would probably go over bigger. Maybe it is going bigger. I don't know. But at the time,
I want to say this before we start. I want to see if we could talk about a little bit about the Hood Slam when they did that show. They was doing a show, and then all of a sudden it gets, they get closed down because of the capacity, or I don't know if it was. The building looked pretty small. And when the cops come in,
the original Victory Garage that they were doing that of?
Yeah, and the police come out there and tell them they got to shut it down, or the fire marshal. Who was that? Yeah. The police?
It was the fire department. And the police were there too. The fire. I mean, I was there at the Victory Warehouse. That's what it was called, the Victory Warehouse, where they had that shit. And I remember it was too small. It was way too small for a real show. It was fucking tiny.
Hold on to it. We're gonna get ready to get started in about another minute. So
yeah.
Hold tight, and we're gonna get started in a few minutes. So
okay.
I'll see you in a few. Yes, this is yours truly, the Executioner. Another edition of Wrestle News Buzz. I have two guests here tonight, and they're my co-hosts for the night. And the first one I would like to bring out, he is the one, the only, Paul Dale Roberts, a.k.a. the Dingo Warrior. Demon Warrior, not Dingo Warrior. What?
It might be the Dingo Warrior. Who knows?
But it's Demon Warrior.
Yeah, the Demon Warrior.
And the other co-host, I don't know who this man is, but he has a good gimmick about him. And I think we need to see about this guy. His name is El Guapo.
Hola,
Hola,
senores.
El Guapo. How you doing? Senor,
Awesome.
senor.
Awesome. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay. How you doing? How's the weather out there?
Beautiful. Always sunny in Florida.
Well, I heard about that hurricane they had up there. Did it pass you or?
Yeah, it went past. It looked like it was going to loop back around and do a rope-a-dope on us, but luckily I think it's just petering out in the Atlantic right now. So,
Yeah.
got lucky. Grateful that it didn't hit me like the last two storms did last year.
Bad. Yeah. But anyway, you're here with Wrestle News Buzz. We're here to talk about wrestling. We're here to talk about the gossips. We talk about the old days, the upcoming. Today is going to be a little free for all. You know, I feel that we should talk about the good old days of, well, some folks call it wrestling. Other folks down south call it wrestling. Now, wrestling and wrestling is two different things. Wrestling and wrestling is where you have a bunch of people and they put on a show, a good show. That's wrestling. Down in southern, down in Oklahoma and
Memphis.
Kentucky. And, wrestling. And the best person that said wrestling was Andy Kaufman. Because he would say wrestling.
Yes,
When back then when him and Jerry the King Lawler, that was the best thing. Do you all remember that when that
Oh
happened?
yeah. He was getting slapped.
I was a kid. That was one of my first introductions to wrestling was the Saturday Night Live incident.
Andy Kaufman with fucking Jerry the King Lawler in Lawler's prime.
Wait, that wasn't SNL. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the David Letterman thing.
Yeah, Lawler effed him up.
Yeah.
It was a good slap.
They did go to David Letterman. You're right. They went on his show too.
Yeah.
But when Kaufman was sitting out there and fucking Jerry come walking up and he said something and all of a sudden Jerry just slapped the shit out. Pow!
Oh, it was a great sport. Have you ever seen the movie that he did called Breakfast with Blassie? It's
what's the name of it?
It's called Breakfast with Blassie, and it's just basically him in Southern California somewhere at this little dive type of diner having breakfast with classy Freddie Blassie, and he has one of his friends, I think, come in the middle of the like interrupt them and then try to shake their hands or something. It was, it was definitely Andy Kaufman's type of humor, and I don't think Freddie was in on that joke either, because he didn't react to it at all. It was, but it was really it's a cult classic. I mean, if you're a wrestling fan, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Look it up. It's called Breakfast with Blassie, and it's Andy Kaufman having breakfast with classy Freddie Blassie, and basically asking, Freddie about about his days in the ring, which were the 1950s and then early 60s, were his real, which was maybe the first golden age of wrestling.
Yes, back then, 50s and the 60s.
Everybody calls it the 80s, yeah, but
that
50s,
was the golden age. That was the real, true golden era of wrestling in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s.
There's so many. I think I saw an interview where, and I love Ric Flair. However, I think,
Oh,
right? The first Nature Boy.
Buddy Rogers, yeah. Nature
Yeah.
Boy, Buddy Rogers.
Oh,
Where he said he admitted taking it from him in earlier interviews, but not in that one. In that one, he just kind of said it was him. It was always him, kind of thing. And I thought, what the hell?
And then he brought out the 4 horsemen. Woo!